I am truly super excited to share with you that Jupiter is going to hit the bending of the nodes of fate exactly on May the 18th, 2025. This is something we normally see once every 100 years, where he will be in the position to activate the nodes of destiny, the nodes of fate in our heavens, from the sign of Gemini to the north node in the sign of Pisces, south node in the sign of Virgo. Now, we had a glitch in the matrix and we got to see this energy playing out in 1989. Otherwise, guys, you're going back to 1858, and before that, 1728. Rarity makes things extremely important to pay attention to, because we'll see very common themes come back socially, politically, economically, globally, as we will have seen in the 1858 and 1989 time. And we'll be comparing notes so we can see what this one is about in this year of our Lord 2025. Now, if you're new here, and by the way, that includes for your sign. And when I say bending of the nodes of fate, and it's so exotic, and this is Jupiter at the north bending, asking you what you need to lean into for your fate, your destiny, your spiritual growth, your evolution, what you need to add, build, increase, and volume up in your life. Because a planet can also be at the south bending, which is what you need to surrender. But you're not surrendering. You're adding, you're increasing, you're reaching, you're striving for something. And that is going to be what Jupiter says you need, and not what you always want, what you need. And the North Node in Pisces tells you the where and why of it all. So we're going to break it down for your sign. And some people will say, oh, should I listen for my sun, my moon, my rising? Well, your sun sign is like your soul or the actor. And then the rising is the character in the movie or the avatar in the simulation. So sun, game player, rising sign, the illusory self. But, we live our lives at the circumstantial level of our rising sign, because often that's very much what happens. The character gets a mesh in. I got married, I got divorced, I got this job, I did this, I had a kid. So pay attention to your rising sign. Now, when we listen for our sun sign, we'll often find ourselves moving toward our soul, more of who we truly are. Sometimes we'll connect it very obviously to matters connected to our career or our purpose. Whereas when we listen for our moon sign, which is valid, sometimes it's how you feel, your emotional comportment in this game of life, but it sometimes literally means home. The moon represents the home. It's a natural ruler of the fourth house, Cancer, from a tropical zodiac perspective. And often something like an eclipse to your moon could change your home. That just happened to me. So listen for moon, sun, and rising, and over time you begin to see all have meaning in your life. All right, guys, are you new here? Welcome. This is Western Tropical Zodiac Astrology, not sidereal or Vedic. I am using this system because it also works just as does Vedic astrology. And I am Lori Lothian. I'm your teacher / reader today. And here's my little pendant, Lunatic Astrology. That's because when I started this channel, I was focused on lunar astrology, new moon, full moon, quarter moon. So I was just doing a bunch of moon stuff, but the title is still there, so I'm going to stick with it. I encourage you today to remember something very important as we go ahead and talk about this rare event last seen in 89 and then 1858, is that this is a general reading for a whole sign. Of course, your natal chart is much more specific, much more fine-tuned to who you are. So if you have a chance to have a reading with a psychologist, an astrologer, go ahead and do that. I'm full right now, and my Patreon community gets first dibs on readings with me. But all said and done, I encourage you to find out more about yourself through either learning astrology, like be your own astrologer and time your best life. If you want to study with me, my summer school Sky Reader 6-week program is starting. Originally, it was going to start in mid-June, but because I'm moving my home, it's going to start instead in early July. And it's 6 weeks long with me. Come sign up in the wait list below, or go read the course description in the description box below. And until the end of May, you can still get my All Signs bundle for sale. That's 24 hours of video content, 2 hours for each sign. It giving you your year ahead, quarter by quarter, with a PDF guidebook, different for each sign, written by me. So if you want that content for only $33, of course, you can share with friends and family, listen to your sun, moon, and rising. It's a deal. It's in my description box below. All right, so now let's get started. Now, first things first, I just had my carpets cleaned because this house is for sale. I'm a renter. And so I'm going to just go close the window. They said, open the windows, because now I'm getting cold. I'll be right back. We're going to show you the sky. I'm going to show you what it looks like when the nodes are being bent. Planet is at the bending of the nodes, the nodal bending. And I'm going to talk about some history, 1989, 1858 to compare notes of how it might work this way in our lives at this time. And some of it's good, very positive, especially for technology, exciting discoveries in science. I'll share that. And then we'll do your sign. This is probably, if you're in the live premiere, I hope no longer than a 90-minute video. I'm going to try to keep this somewhat pithy, which is coming out on Sunday, the 18th, the day that this perfects. Okay, here we go. Let me share the sky with you so you'll see what I mean. And here we have this energy of the south and north node. This is called K2 in Indian astrology, Rahu over here. Bottom line, we surrender, let go, release, excrete, and let go of what we don't need, because basically we are in a matrix anyway, and that's the south node. But the north node, we are in a volume up, increase, striving. We wish to pursue, we wish to attain, we wish to have worldly success in the north node. Nothing is good or bad. It's not good to have worldly success, nor is it bad to have spiritual surrender. It's just two polarities in the game of life. And the nodes are where the eclipses happen. They are the lunar nodes. The nodes, the nodal math points that connect to the transit of the moon. And basically it ends up looking like when the sun and moon are new or are full, be near the moon, near these nodal math points, they are where eclipses happen. And technically, in Indian astrology or Vedic or sidereal astrology, they're considered like planets. They have a huge gravitational energetic field, even though there are math points. So, and I simplified the story to Jupiter and the nodes. We don't need to know where all the other planets are. This is a very simple story. And you'll notice that Jupiter, on the day of my recording, May the 16th, which is a Friday, you'll see that Jupiter's at 24 degrees and 40 minutes, where the nodes are at 25 and 25. The nodes actually move counterclockwise. Planetary motion on a graph heads this way around the zodiac. It's called zodiacal order, whereas the nodes of fate move contrary to zodiacal order, a counterclockwise direction. Keep that in mind. So in essence, they're moving toward each other. Right. The node's moving toward Jupiter. Jupiter's moving toward the node. You've been feeling this energy already since about May the 3rd or 4th or 5th. Or no, sorry, I wrote the time down. It really kicked in around May the 10th, where there was a 3-degree orb. So around May the 10th through to the 29th, this energy has been building and continues to build, becomes pretty exact on Sunday the 18th. There's a kind of a touch point on May the 15th where they kind of also connect, and then they reconnect on the 18th. So it's kind of like, as you're listening to this on a Sunday, for example, you're thinking of how this weekend is felt. You're going to think of how this whole week ahead is going to feel, as this energy is pretty darn exact. Now, I want you to watch this just so you see how close they're coming together. On May 16th, this is what we're seeing. On May 17th and on May 18th, Jupiter at 25 degrees and 5 minutes, and the nodes at 25.4. I believe they're going to perfect at 25 degrees and 5 minutes. Okay. Which is the number 12, if you happen to do numerology, which is the hangman in the tarot, or has to do with surrender, release, reversals. Now, technically, a square brings change. This is what we call a square pattern. In fact, normally you'd see it like this. I haven't got my software set to show you that, drawing between the nodes, but that's what that looks like. It's called a T-square. And a T-square are where something, Jupiter, is 90 degrees away from each node, and the nodes are opposite each other, or 180 degrees. A T-square is literally a gritty tension that requires decisions, actions, and change, sometimes through conflict, sometimes through critical turning point moments. And it's because squares are the nature of Mars. Mars brings those things, decisions, willpower, action, and change to our lives. Sometimes, as I said, through gritty tension or conflict. I find decisions happen with squares because we must decide, and every decision separates something. And Mars is a god of separation. What do we separate when we decide? Well, we go one way or the other. A decision dissects something to, I'm going to go left or right. I'm going to take that job. I'm not going to take that job. I'll say yes to the marriage proposal. I'll say no. So these energies are Martian. All right. Mars is ending, severing, cutting, deciding, going this way or that way. Now, when this is happening in our sky, and you'll see it's exact on Sunday, May 18th, and it's going to play out until the 29th of May. You'll still be feeling this as it's going to be within a 3-degree orb. There are going to be things happening in your life that may be resonant with 1989. And so we're going to cover the history in the world in 1989, and then we're even going to go back to 1858. If you're old enough to remember your life in 1989, there may be some similarities. You might find some parallels to the story in the spring of 89, now the spring of 2025. Now, one of the things to say is that I wanted to point out this is the North Node and Jupiter is right here, right? And if we go clockwise from the North Node, the first planet, well, Jupiter is here. So Jupiter is north in clockwise motion. He's going, if the North Node was looking at Jupiter and moving this way, it'd be clockwise motion. So clockwise from the North Node is Jupiter. Jupiter as at the north bending of the node of fate. Okay, so if Jupiter was up here in the top of the sky in Sagittarius, then we would go here and he would be at the bending of the south node, right? Moving in clockwise order. So this is indicating the north bending is activated. Yes, sure, the south node is here, but it's not really what Jupiter's focused on. He's trying to make a deal of some sort with the north node of fate. You know, the sign of Gemini is literally the neighbors and the brothers, right? Cain and Abel, all that stuff. The immortal and immortal twin, Castor and Pollux. And often we'll find that when Jupiter is going through this sign, he either expands war or tries to bring peace and harmony and justice to wars between neighbors. So civil wars, right? Or wars between proximate land boundaries with like the cousins or brothers fighting, right? The McCoys or something. So certainly Gaza and Israel are an example, and same with Ukraine and Russia. They're proximate neighbors to each other, and they actually have similar historic alliances and ethnologies and languages as well. Whether you believe that or not, there's a lot of studies about the history of the Palestinian and the Jewish people, and they really descend from the same place and time in ancient history. Now, one of the things, and of course, everyone always says, oh, it's Abraham. It's the two brothers of the ancient Abrahamic religion fighting each other. Yeah, okay, whatever. But with Jupiter here in Gemini, and there's no peace at hand so far, right, between the Ukraine and Russia situation or the Middle East. Well, this is a chance for that to change. And where the North Node is being bent is in the sign of Pisces, which represents seashores, water bodies, submarines, storms, floods, cyclones, tidal waves. We'll get to that. This is also Jupiter in a sign of what is called his detriment or exile. He wants to live up here in Sagittarius. That's his home kingdom. He's exiled in a foreign, far off land across the way called Gemini, which is all about those details. And Jupiter is like, I don't care about the details. See, Jupiter is like the king of Mount Olympus giving instructions. He lets someone else execute the instructions, right? He's like the lawmaker. He lets someone else actually write the thing down and get it enacted or passed through Congress or something. So the lawgiver, the justice guy, truth, wisdom, knowledge is in a condition of constraint and constriction in Gemini. And it has never been, it is not always ever a good transit for him, just as a general principle. But he's still the good guy. He's still Santa Claus, fairy godfather. Jupiter is the planet that brings life, and he stands for children and truth and wisdom and justice and guru and dispeller of darkness. He's the greater benefic. You know, Jupiter's place in our solar system with his huge gravitational field keeps the asteroid belt, a smashed up planet between Mars and Jupiter, a bunch of space rubble, from being pulled into the gravitational energy of the sun and basically hitting Earth. Earth would not exist if it was not for Jupiter. Did the ancients know that? Probably. Thus, he is the life giver and the greater benefic. In this case, Jupiter will still try to do something good for us, even in detriment. And I find Jupiter in Gemini is kind of like the old Rolling Stones song. You don't always get what you want, you get what you need. So keep that in mind. Now, he's a discerning guy rather than just like Santa Claus dishing out the goods. Okay. Now, one more thing I will say before we move into some historical stories is this. Jupiter will leave the sign of Gemini on June the 9th. And up until June the 9th, he's still at the bending of the nodes of fate, particularly the north bending. He's still there. He's just not as tightly there as he is May 18th or May 15th, indeed, through to the 29th. So once he crosses the sign boundary in the tropical system into Cancer, the bending of the nodes of fate becomes a trine, which brings harmony and ease and luck and goodness. And we haven't seen that trine since the 1850s either. And we'll be talking about that early June with extraordinary excitement, as now eclipses have favor from Jupiter, which is going to be so good for all of us. But this last nodal square must be paid attention to. And that's what we're going to cover today. Now, what about world events? I bet you're wondering about that, right? 1989. Some good things happened in 1989. You have to remember your March and April of 89 in your own life, because the nodes were bent in the same way by Jupiter on March the 30th of 1989. This kind of means the entirety of the month of March and April are mushed up in intense energies to do with the bending of the nodes. Did you know that the World Wide Web was invented, trial runned out in March of 1989? Yes. So there we have the beginning of the World Wide Web. Could we have the beginning of a new technology? Absolutely. We could have an announcement that quantum computing finally works and we have quantum computing capacity, or a massive breakthrough in AI. We also saw a major magnetic storm. You see, Jupiter has a huge gravitational pull and he's a very powerful planet in our solar system. It's possible we will have a massive repeating magnetic storm of some kind. Get ready for your, what do you call those things that you see in the sky? Aurora borealis. But you also may have, with this kind of intensity, we might just have one of those power out, satellites down, something really disruptive as well. So we also saw a mummy discovered in 1989. This was in March in the Cheops pyramid. A full mummy was discovered in a pyramid. Look for more discoveries in Egypt. We already have some sonar radar ground penetrating stories that look like there's big things underneath the pyramid, the Great Pyramid of Giza, if that's the one it was, or one of the pyramids in Giza Plateau. So that's exciting. More developments on that story may come through. Utah scientists were saying in 1989 March that they had figured out cold fusion. Well, it turned out not to be quite true because we don't have cold fusion rather than nuclear fission. So cold fusion, anyway, I think it's the word cold fusion. Anyway, Utah scientists discovered it, but maybe they didn't, but there was an announcement. So major scientific discoveries to do with energy. However, on the shadow side, in Alaska waters, the Exxon Valdez had the most intense massive oil spill in our modern history into the Alaskan waters. Pay attention to the word Alaska, because in 1858, there was another Alaska story. So we had stuff about energy, but also good and bad. The North Node is in Pisces. That's seashores. That's like the Gaza Strip is on a seashore, right? That's like Crimea is on water between Ukraine and Russia. This is indicating that water stories are going to be big. So the Exxon Valdez oil spill is an example of that. We may expect some repeating stories to do with misadventures in water because Jupiter is indeed in a condition of exile or detriment. Tiananmen Square protests in China where students were protesting. This is not the massacre, but in April, the beginning of April, the Tiananmen Square protests began. So we may see uprisings for Jupiter justice within civil structures, right? So don't forget, like the Civil War, the twins, the two parts of any society in one battle, brothers at battle. So the younger people in China at war with the older people in China with those protests. In April of 1985, we also had a deadly tornado in Bangladesh. It literally killed like 1,400, 1,500 people and left thousands injured. Again, misadventures with North Node, amplification of water, Jupiter expanding that out of his dignity. So it's possible, yes, again, water stories are going to prevail. In fact, a Soviet submarine sank and killed 41 people aboard. And that was in Norwegian waters, also in April of 1989. So misadventures with ships, submarines, weather, water, etc. Motorola invented the world's smallest cell phone in April of 1989. It was a breakthrough in cell phone technology. Again, we're going to see technological breakthrough because Gemini can represent communications technology like cell phones. We also saw a coup in Haiti fail. Someone wanted to overthrow somebody. It didn't happen. A failed attempt to overthrow a king, a leader, Jupiter. Didn't work out. But that's, again, civil strife within the bounds of a country. Now, also, there was the biggest lottery win. Jupiter rules lottery wins, abundance, prosperity, luck. And on April 15th of 1989, in which state was it? One of the United States, there was the largest lottery win in history within that time frame. Now it's probably gotten bigger. I think it was 69 million and it made headlines. So big things to do with prosperity and luck individually and collectively. Jupiter can blow things up and make them very large when it comes to luck and money and wins and prosperity. Now, also in the politics of 1989 in the world, but mostly the United States. So first of all, in the 1989 calendar year, when the nodes were still being bent along these lines, there was the end of the year invasion of Panama to overthrow Manuel Noriega, and they called the war a just cause, Operation Just Cause, because apparently he was drug trafficking and something else, in the United States. So he was breaking United States law. Now you can argue that the three-letter agency that starts with a C, and regime overthrows and changes is just another story. And there might have been no just cause. George W. Bush Sr. was in power at the time. So, but nonetheless, I have to laugh that war connected to water, right? Panama. Was it Panama? Yeah. Yeah. And, Donald Trump's talking about Panama, like we want to get the canal back. We kicked the Chinese out. So the Panama story has returned in our current time frame. There was the establishment of a new department in United States departments, and it was called the Department of Veteran Affairs, which still exists today. And Donald Trump ran on pro-vet lingo, and so there is that. Plus, he started a new department called DOGE. So we're seeing similar themes of creating a new department, etc. And that happened during the entire time that Jupiter was in Gemini during Trump's power, since he got into power again. And so we'll see similar themes broadly, but again, the Department of Veteran Affairs and establishment of new departments. George W. Bush Sr., GW, banned the import of assault weapons. Now, this is an interesting one to see if there's going to be any more restrictions on weapons that could occur because of this story. In Canada, the new government is reinitiating its weapons bans on hunters with shooting with rifles. It's semi-automatic, so you don't have to shoot and reload between duck hunting in Canada or whatever. We have stuff going on. It's really nuts about that. That should be a Canadian story, I suppose. Abortion rights, yes. Just April 9th, the largest ever rally, 300 women or people were in DC protesting for the right to choose. So there was that, women's rights. Don't forget, Jupiter rules justice and just causes. And Gemini is conflict or civil strife between parties within a neighboring environment or in a country. And of course, there is polarity between the two sides of the United States that are for or against a woman's right to choose. And so there was this demonstration, or just like Tiananmen Square, demonstrations come up with Jupiter and Gemini. Finally, the United States sees something. The Lincoln Savings and Loans Bank was seized by the United States, and things that happened then were planting seeds for the later failure, subprime loan scandal, and later on in the early 2000s. So we could see some kind of bank failures or seizures or government intervention in banking industry. And lastly, the House Speaker, at the time, this is happening in the same time frame, March, April, the United States House Speaker was investigated for bribes, gifts, and income limit evasion. So scandals to do with justice and people in power in government and legal action. So those are some stories we might expect or not expect. Now, when we go back to 1858, right, because you can compare your life to 1989, March, April, where the nodes were bending really tightly and the North Node was the one that was bending. And I'll do your sign to remind you of that. But in 1858, I thought we had some interesting stories about science and announcements as well. Don't forget, the World Wide Web was invented. We had breakthroughs in maybe cold fusion in a lab. There was energy, stuff about, invention. But did you know that in 1858, during the time the nodes were bending, which is roughly the end of May to mid-June, that was when it was happening, that it was playing out through to mid-June to mid-July, that Darwin presented his theory of evolution in London at a talk with Wallace, his partner. So there's a beginning of a new theory of science, of this one, human evolution, maybe some discoveries in the pyramids, like the mummy in 89. We have more that show humanity's history in a new light, or there's new science to be discussed in the collective sphere about the way the world really works. Peace treaties happened in 1858. The Indian Rebellion in the United States, there was a peace treaty formed during the bending of the nodes. Jupiter will try to bring fairness and justice to all things. Again, Gemini, civil strife between two parties in the same country. And June 19th, Mexico City had a massive earthquake. It was devastating. It destroyed the city in 1858. I'm still saying, people go, oh, maybe you meant the earthquake here or the earthquake there. These are 7.7, 7.9s. No, I still see 2020 5 having a once in a lifetime magnitude of an quake. Okay. Says, I don't know if it's going to happen when Jupiter's in Gemini squaring the North Node in Pisces, but that has been a part of a quake story back in 1858, and that was a massive, massive Richter scale event. Finally, the United States and Japan signed a treaty of amity and commerce in July of 1858. And that president was Buchanan, by the way. He was a one-term president, a lame duck. He lost power. So he was a figurehead. His executive branch didn't have legislative power. He was the 19th president of the United States. He was elected the year before in 1859, maybe, anyway, or 57. But the point about that is that we saw in the United States and Asia making treaties of amity and commerce, and that China and the United States in a tariff war now, this could look good on the bending of the node through till the end of this month, looking like a real handshake and fun deal between China and Trump. Trump has often said this is a competitor, not an enemy. He's a very transactional person. He sees the world through commercial transactional value systems, not evil, good, bad, rotten, the way, let's say, theologists would look at things or whatever, or countries that run on religious dogma. I have one in particular in mind, right-wing religious dogma in the Middle East. Now, we're going to also mention one more thing that happened in 1858, and then we're going to do your sign. And let me get that up. I truly am excited. By the way, have you liked and subscribed yet? And if you're in the premiere especially, would you do that and help this channel grow? It's been a really fun ride jumping over the 100,000 mark. And the first 3 months after I jumped over the hurdle there, my channel was going by 4,000 subscribers a month. I think I might hit like 2,000 this month. It's usually slow in May anyway. People are, taking time to enjoy outdoors. But if you could give me a love up, that would be helpful. I just copied this off of Wiki or something, but this is some interesting themes politically in the United States in 1858 that may repeat in some way. Okay. I just found this like extremely fascinating, to say the very least. So when Buchanan took office, then we're thinking Trump to compare, he wanted to establish a foreign policy that would give the United States hegemony over Central America. So hegemony, meaning that their manifest destiny is to have, global power, and they want to have a unipolar world. They want to have a huge amount of energy over the rest of the world, like the moral sheriff of the world. So he wanted to revitalize what the United States had called its manifest destiny upon founding, and he wanted to enforce the Monroe Doctrine of the manifest destiny. So anyway, what happened was, the Spanish, the French, and the British in the 1850s were, had lots of land, like Louisiana and stuff like that. And he wanted to renegotiate what was called the Clayton-Buller Treaty to counter European imperialism in the Western Hemisphere. So long story short, he literally was looking to take more land in the Northern Hemisphere to belong to the United States of America. And Donald Trump continually talks about Canada being the 51st state and how we would love being a part of the 51st state or part of America. So that's an interesting replay of a similar story. And don't forget Panama, because we saw the Panama story also playing out in the other story examples I gave you, the Noriega thing. And here we have Panama back in our news cycle. He wants to reclaim the Panama Canal. So you could see that in this case, Buchanan wanted to acquire Cuba. Again, expansion of land within the North American hemisphere. Now, also in 1858, he sent a bunch of ships to Paraguay and the USS Waterwitch, which is a great name, and there was a massive, kind of attempt here to put Paraguay in its place for actually firing on U.S. Marines, and Paraguay had to apologize. So military seafaring action happened in 1858 during the bending of the nodes of fate. I don't know if Trump will actually say we're going to get our seafaring warships out somewhere within the North American hemisphere, but it wouldn't surprise me if something like that showed up in the next couple of weeks. You never know. And basically, the United States, and then Buchanan considered buying Alaska. So he wants to take over Greenland. See, Alaska, Greenland. Alaska was the Exxon Valdez spill in 1989. You'll see Alaska and Panama stories repeating here again at this time around through till the end of May. And also this has been in play already for the last month. So we've been seeing those stories percolating through our current time frame. And of course, in 1859, Alaska was purchased. Okay. Now, is it going to be Alaska being purchased. No, Alaska's already here, but stories about Alaska vis-a-vis United States, stories about the Panama Canal. Greenland is a proxy for Alaska. Can we have that chunk of land over there, right? And, there's only like 100,000 Greenlanders, I think, or 50, 60,000. And if Trump said, I'm going to give you guys each a couple $1,000,000 if you want to, vote for me to take over your Greenland territory, believe me, I think a lot of those people would say that sounds like a deal. We can be like Puerto Rico or something. So, let's see what happens. Now let's go ahead and do your sign. We're going to listen for sun, moon, and rising. And yes, we are starting with Aries. All right, starting with Aries. I hope you guys enjoyed that, by the way, that roundup of the history. I always love looking at the past and finding the patterns, right? So here we have the sky. I'm going to move us forward to I am on the 18th. That's perfect. Aries, sun, moon, and rising. Wow. So yeah, go back to 1989 if you want to compare notes. And technically it was most exact what we're about to experience in 1989 between the dates of, I have them written down. Give me a second. Where is that? In 1989, it would have been in, so many notes and nothing is where it's supposed to be. It would be basically 1989 on, yes, I already said it at the beginning in the intro, right? But now I can't find where that particular note is. March, April. Okay, so all of March, all of April, because it was really March 30th that the node was bent exactly by Jupiter. Okay, so think about March and April as a general vibe of 1989. If you can remember, your life is kind of rinsing and repeating. Something is coming back that's very similar. So I remember I was traveling all over the place. I was in Europe. I was in Hungary. I was pregnant with my child. I quit my job. So I can remember what I was doing in March and April. Can you? So that's going to be useful if you can. I was in Geneva. Okay. So Aries, sun, moon, and rising sign. Jupiter has been moving through your fifth house ever since May of last year and completes on June the 9th. And this is just like 1989. He's bending the north node in your 12th house, foreign lands and distant shores, including travel. He's in a travel house. I'm an Aries sun and moon, and I was traveling to Hungary and Geneva. I was on a big trip to Europe, and I literally, after the Berlin Wall fell, I was kind of there in 1989, and I was seeing Eastern Europe and having a big adventure when I was pregnant. So what were you doing in 1989 that you can go, oh, it's just like when? Is it similar? Does it feel the same? What kind of things are there for you? Now, if you have anything to do with a 12th house spiritual attainment, you're looking to find God, moksha, liberation from the wheel of carnation, Buddhahood, you want to go all the way. North Node says, like, why not try? Jupiter is the guru, the teacher in the house of learning. You may learn something here in the next couple of weeks. By the end of May 18th, the end of the month, you might come into a teacher, a teaching, a learning of some kind. Don't say never. You might stumble onto a book somebody gives you, and you realize it's the one book you need for peace of mind, meditation, a connection to divine will, finding your way through the maze and the matrix, So a new teaching or some destined teaching may come your way that really is a guidepost for you in navigating your spiritual and contemplative reality. Jupiter brings wealth, abundance, and opportunity in the third house of social media, in the third house of things to do with writing and communicating, marketing and selling. You also could be very prosperous in the second half of May yourself. If you're somebody involved in social media, something you're doing to market, sell, or teach, and there may be a nice little boost of wealth coming off this. The North Node is expanding digital income, borderless revenue, money that you would get because you're basically pulling from marketplaces and distant shores. That's the 12th house. Finally, yes, with Jupiter here, you may have issues with a sibling one younger than you, or extended aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, and nephews. And I don't mean it has to be terrible, but a fated turning point event may occur in the life of a younger sibling or in your relationship to that younger sibling, or maybe a cousin, an uncle, an aunt, or some extended family member. Look for that to be a possibility. And while Jupiter is bending the node, busy bending, he owns that North Node, right? The North Node is in his kingdom. So there is a desire for the North Node to please Jupiter. But Jupiter also is the ruler of your ninth house. And there may be some way he could toss a bouquet up there and give you an opportunity for a book publishing deal, a publication success story, a legal contractual success, or something destined in that area, or maybe something to do with foreign lands and shores really highlighted for you in a positive but destined and critical turning point way. If you have to make any kinds of pivotal decisions, which is what happens when we see a square, you might be making decisions regarding your local environment, daily routines, and the people you intersect in your everyday world. That's your third house. I think it's more like a destined teacher teaching body of knowledge wants to come to you to support you to move in alignment with your spiritual life and to release yourself from karmic debt relationships. South Node in the sixth house as well. Jupiter brings luck. North Node expands the luck. Critical turning points to do with luck. I'm going to give you a tip. Possibly, not necessarily, but possibly, you could win some money off of this, but it would connect to something in the local environment, like the bingo hall, or, you're supporting the local, Shriners Club or a hospital lottery. North Node's in the house of hospitals. I'll be buying my lottery ticket for the Vancouver Hospital Lottery. I think the draw is in July, but I'm going to buy my ticket during the bending of the nodes of fate. I already won on the hospital lottery for the Children's Hospital. I won a gift card, so maybe I can win another one. North Node is in the house of hospitals, and Jupiter is the luck in the local environment. So I'll keep playing hospital lotteries as an Aries sun and moon. Oh, sorry, guys. I can't advance the chart. Yes, I won't even explain why. It just happens to be a glitch in my little matrix. Whole sign houses. Let's change it to the whole sign system. And now we'll go back and we're going to trundle all the way back 2 days to the 18th. Don't forget this plays out till the 29th or so of the month. And we're going to move over to the Tauruses as well. I'll probably take a chocolate break at Libra. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, let's talk about the first things first in the story here. Looks to me like you're experiencing Jupiter's transit since last May, ending June 9th, through your second house. Ideally, he will expand your earnings, your resources financially. Sometimes he can expand your spending as well. However, he is charitable. He's doing his best to help you financially. Doesn't always give you what you want, but gives you what you need. With his detriment, maybe you are making money, but not always excited by the way the money's been coming, or the money is enough to keep you from being homeless, Hail Mary pass, but not happy. So there's something here to do with money is trying to be good. He's planting seeds, though, that will really harvest in the following year anyway, June 9th of this year till next July of 26. That is when the harvesting is the reaping the rewards, the gains of a second house transit. Some of you may really have to come to terms with what your values are around money, earnings, worth, and finances during this transit of Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is bending the North Node. The North Node is in your 11th house. Your 11th house is a very important place in your sky. It connects to your long-range dreams, goals, and wishes. What is it that you're wishing for in life that you want to see accomplished? What are you hoping to achieve in your world of career and purpose and life in general? And Jupiter is in a financial wellness house. And so there's a lot of focus on aligning a long game plan for your life with prosperity. Now, critical decisions may occur here with the North Node in the 11th regarding the word job or career path. And that's important to know because Jupiter may give you an opportunity to change your career or change your job or make a decision around that. So look for some critical pivots around the themes of work, job, earnings, and resources coming up May the 18th, all the way through until the end of May. You might notice with Jupiter here as well, the North Node could open up an opportunity to expand your social influence or groups of belonging, as well as your finances and your career. So word opportunity and career expansion or social network influence growth will come up. The North Node could bring a destined person into your life who is a friend, or you could benefit financially from something that occurs with a sibling one older than you. Jupiter's joy is naturally in the 11th house. No, I know he's not in his joy house, but he's witnessing his joy house. And the North Node wants to volume something up. So if you've been discontent by earnings or money situations, there may be a pivotal turning point, action, or decision that you will encounter in the next 2 weeks. Jupiter doesn't always give you what you thought you wanted, but he will give you what you need. I want you to plant that seed. What you need is not always what you want. And we're going into the sign of Gemini. But before I do, I'm going to get up, have a bit of chocolate, and I'll be right back. All right, let's get going and talk about Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising. And guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. All right. And come join me for summer school. Sky Reader starts now, July, because of my move. Everything got topsy-turvied, but we're still doing 6 weeks together, July into early August. So come join me just after July 4th weekend. All right. So here we have May the 18th, we have the beginning of the bendings, and the nodes will be bending away until the end of May, and we're moving to Gemini, and we're going to talk about your sign, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Well, you've been living with the Jupiter transit since May of 2020, third week of May 2024, and it's completing on June 9th of this year. This has been both good and bad for Geminis. My progressed sun is here. Your progressed planets are useful, but your natal is more primary. And it's kind of like everything wanted to expand everywhere, everything all at once, that movie. Jupiter, like, let's blow it up, but no details, right? No fine print. I always think it's like biting off more than you can chew, really. It's like you got your mouth full and, blah, blah. You're trying to speak, but there's too much in there. And so a lot of people who have been impacted by this transit can look back and say, oh my God, the last year, I thought I could conquer the world. I'd do this, do that, accomplish this, be bigger and larger than life. And maybe there was a little overreach. A little exhaustion, a little overstretching. So that's the story. And maybe some of you gained weight or put on muscle if you were smart, but Jupiter expands everything, including one's girth. Now he's leaving there. So the leave taking of Jupiter over your sun, career stories, moon, home-based stories, or rising, anything about your body, your life, your health, your life in general, he's still there. He's going to finish with a flourish at the bending of the nodes, and in particular, he's bending the North Node here. So there's something you want to do to expand into amplitude up, volume up your career. Now, don't worry about that because Jupiter will be there trining the North Node soon enough. But there's a critical turning point, a decision action point that's being activated for you over the next couple of weeks. And you may have felt it building up already in those 2 weeks before now. So I kind of want to say you have to make some kind of critical choices, right? All squares bring Mars to the storyline. What decisions, actions, and choices are being forced into your storyline where you must make a choice about what you wish to accomplish in the worldly success of your 10th house of purpose and career. Retired, what do you do that you wish people to say, yay, you, achievement, right? Recognition. Jupiter rules a house of marriage, and the 10th house is a house of weddings. Are some of you pondering you need to make a critical decision about getting married or having a wedding, or you're leveling up to a committed love story, or vice versa? Maybe letting one go, because this is the kind of critical dynamic tension that a T-square will bring you. I like the North Node here for a general reason of usually the 10th house North Node will increase your career success through to the summer of 26. But Jupiter here is acting like, I'm the wisdom holder. I'm King Solomon. I got the don't cut the two women want the baby, right? And King Solomon knows only one of them is a real mama. So he says, well, I'll cut the baby in half and give you each half the baby. Well, that's really wise because the real mother sacrifices a baby rather than take half a baby. Like, no, don't, she can have the baby. So there's a kind of discerning Solomon wisdom that even in detriment Jupiter can have for you. And this discernment, this King of Swords energy is here for you. How are you going to discern what is true and wise and right for yourself about sun, career, moon, your home, or a rising sign, anything in your life, and particularly your significant other relationships as well. Now, Jupiter just makes you lucky as all hell, right? 4-leaf clovers, horseshoes up your ass, all that stuff. So you still have that luck with you till June the 9th. North Node is a destined opportunity. A lucky destined career opportunity may emerge in the 2 weeks of May 18th to the 29th or the end of May. And if you're going to take it, it's going to be one of those features of reality where it might have felt like, a divine blessing, like something just landed on your head. Like, how did I get this lucky break? Really? That kind of thing. I kind of want you to think about luck strikes and action must be taken and decisions must be made regarding career opportunities, expansion, and growth. And again, let me know in the comments what happens for you. How does this play out? I'd love to hear back from you. This will be playing out very acutely May the 18th through to the end of the month, and even a week before this May 18th video, some of you might have felt some of these things already beginning to happen. Like, for example, I got the opportunity to go on a show called Life After Life NDE, what happened as the North Node was being built up to be bent by Jupiter. So, and this continues to the end of the month, these kinds of career opportunities that feel very, very fortunate. I got it. That's what I got for you. I can't think of anything else to say. Yeah, I just really can't. Hey, Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. Well, the North Node is in your 9th house and it's being bent by Jupiter in your 12th. This happened in 1989. I said at the beginning, everyone should compare notes to April, May of 1989. March and April of 1989, what was going on then. And you can find that this energy is going to really, at some level, be very soft and subtle, because Jupiter is in a very sort of solitude, contemplation, spiritual guides, spiritual awareness, spiritual investigation, spiritual enlightenment, moksha, liberation, 12th house. Now, often we have to have expenses here. 12th house is expenditures, expenses. It's also charity. You might have been more charitable, giving money to people who needed it, because he's been in your 12th house ever since last year's May, leaving June 9th. But also your expenditures may have increased as Jupiter entered your 12th house last May. All of a sudden you needed a new water heater, or you need, like, expenses just might have piled up a bit, right? Now, this storyline now is the North Node is asking for golden, destined, fated opportunities to emerge in your 9th house of God. With Jupiter here, this is guru stories. Like, this is like you find your spiritual teacher from past lives. You move in a destined, fated way towards some new educational direction. It doesn't have to be enlightenment-y. It could be just going to a university, a college, a campus, a school, a learning. Some of that may involve distant shores. If you're in the publications, book publishing industry, this could be a golden opportunity the last 2 weeks of May for some publishing deal. The North Node can expand your dharmic alignment, go in a direction of deeper purpose in life, to be aligned with what is real and true and meaningful to you. And you may find some opportunities to do that seem golden in the next 2 weeks. Now, Jupiter is also in the house of hospitals, and the North Node is in the house of father figures. And for some of you, a father figure in a hospital setting in a destined turning point way activates decisions that must be made and taken in your life in the last 2 weeks of May. And Jupiter will cross out of that 12th house on June the 9th. But before he does, he's still asking you to really experience wisdom and knowledge and understanding of the deeper infrastructures of life, your soul, your soul's past lives, the meaning of your life. And last 2 weeks of May really kicks off a lot of energy towards that investigation as well. Meeting your fated destined Satguru, your true teacher, for example. If you make money from long distance shores and international revenue, then you might have a golden opportunity to increase those revenues coming in your sky this week ahead as well. And this has already been in play for a week or two already. So look at the past before you got here, but it's really picking up speed the 18th to the 29th of May. So, Leo, if you're having a nodal bending here, not last seen in March, April of 1989, is asking you to consider Jupiter in his joy in the 11th house, bringing windfalls or pennies from heaven, or golden career opportunities that increase your chunky money wealth. So, for example, a sign-on bonus, a severance package, an increase of your revenue that's not directly earned, like a performance review, but it's deeper than just something that could show up in the last week behind you and the next 2 weeks ahead. It could indicate something very powerful to do with a real shift of the way money arises in your life. Passive income, royalty income, inheritance monies are stories that could happen. Money coming from a sibling older than you by one, That's another destined fated story here to increase your long range chunky money wealth in a significant way. Perhaps that is applicable to some of you. Jupiter here can represent a wealthy friend or ally or benefactor who wishes to support you to work less and be richer anyway. So instead of hustling in the second house of earnings, you might get an ability to have a chunk of money come at you. Jupiter rules your fifth house of good fortune, which is also a house of speculation. So it wouldn't hurt under this sky to play a lottery ticket, go to the casino, do the bingo hall. In the next 2 weeks, you might actually come into some financial wins as well. And between Jupiter being in the, windfalls, pennies from heaven's vibe, but he owns your kind of like winning money, speculation, gambling house, your fifth house, it could work for you. Would this be the big jackpot? Not likely with Jupiter in detriment, but you could still win some money. So pay attention. Or a sibling, one older friend, ally, benefactor wins some money and shares it with you, things like that. You want to go back to March and April of 89, you might be able to make some comparisons to how this played out then. Finally, we all have an idea, like a bucket list, or what our long range goals and dreams are. And that's the house of the 11th. It's a forward looking aspirational house. It's what you wish to desire and wish for your life. Jupiter has been trying to help you see the true wishes and desires over the last year, finishing June the 9th. And with this nodal bending, an opportunity may emerge that to put you in the right direction. For the most karmic house is the 8th house where the node is. And technically in your sky, Jupiter is your most karmic planet. So you may have a turning point here, a decision action turning point arrival around moving towards something that's deeply meaningful as a long range plan in your life, at the same time dispensing or letting go of some old karma that no longer is necessary. And a lot of that looks like it could do with self-worth, self-love, self-value. And maybe also if you're an occultist, a tarot reader, an astrologer, that's the 8th house, a golden opportunity in the arts that you practice may emerge through an ally, friend, benefactor for more public exposure or influence, such as being a guest on somebody's show. Hey, Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. What do we have to say to you today? Well, first of all, if you were alive and could remember your life in March and April of 1989, it's kind of the same thing happening again all through the month of May this time around. And it really picks up speed, as we've talked about right now, this weekend, May the 18th through to the end of the month, really, as this nodal bending of Jupiter in your career house wants to bring you lucky breaks and opportunities, favors from the boss, people in high places loving you up in your career and reputation. Now, he's been here since last May, and some of you may have had some luck, like my daughter got her first ever corporate job out of university, a true miracle in our climate, that she's not waitressing or being a gym rat working in a gym, that she even got a job, was so lucky. But Jupiter's in detriment, and there may be something about, well, you got the bounteous luck and expansion in the career, there's still something not quite hitting the mark, right? So you may have some discontent. And Jupiter up here is at the top of the sky through until June the 9th, but in the last couple of weeks of May, and he's bending the North Node in the house of legal contracts and agreements. Now, there's a couple of thoughts here. First of all, and this already started, let's say a week or so before May 18th, you really started to feel it heating up. So your significant long-term relationship mate, your marriage type partner, may also have a career breakthrough showing up in their life the week behind us and the 2 weeks ahead. My daughter's boyfriend, live in, 5-6 year relationship, just got his dream job. So it doesn't always have to be about you, because the node is the bending of the node that's being bent is a house of significant other. So this can also apply to some really positive developments and turning points in the reputation, career zone of a significant other. Now, you could also find this looks like a wedding proposal if you're wanting to get married. Jupiter in the house of weddings, the North Node in the house of significant love. And maybe there is going to be an upgrade, like a bended knee moment, or let's move in together, or let's elevate this relationship to a new public disclosure. We're getting engaged, we're monogamous, we're getting married, we're moving in together. Those sorts of announcements and stories may occur in the next 2 weeks for some of you, Virgo, sun, moon, and rising. And noticing that the North Node is in the seventh house, you're likely to attract destined people that influence your career in positive ways. A week ago and the next 2 weeks, those people are very important. A destined job contract, legal offer could show up here as well. Now, Jupiter rules your fourth house of home, property, land, and real estate, although he's in the 10th house of career. But you may get a golden opportunity to work in a work from home situation or closer to home than you currently are. So there is that other element to what Jupiter can pull off here if he tries his very best. And then he's going to be in your 11th house. Cannot wait to do that video for June the 9th transition, because that is going to be one of the luckiest in a lifetime windows of time for all of us. Hey, Libra, sun, moon, and rising. No need for a chocolate break. I've already done it at Gemini. The air signs get my chocolate breaks. Well, look at this. If this is any help, go back to March and April of 1989 when Jupiter was bending the North Node from Gemini to the North Node in his kingdom of Pisces. The sixth house is your daily health matters, you know, your work, your routines around your health. It's your job, it's your workspace, it's your employment, employer stories, it's rental properties as well. And sometimes it also involves pets. And the North Node is expanding things here through till the summer of 26. With Jupiter now bending that node in the ninth house, opportunity arises for the following themes: a pet from a far off land, an opportunity for your work to involve travel to distant shores and far off lands, maybe an opportunity for a situation in the work environment that allows for learning, like getting a professional education opportunity arising for you. Yes, about a week before May 18th, but through to the end of the month, this is playing out for you. And Jupiter says luck in legal matters. And because legal disputes is a sixth house where a lawsuit could go on, or a contrarian legal problem, then Jupiter's trying to bless you and a destined shift of events. But if there are legal disputes involving courts and legal matters in play in your life, you're still going to be forced with a decision or action that must be taken. And that's simply because, of course, we do see that Jupiter is in detriment. This could look like getting a visa, a passport for a destined work environment storyline, or a destined foreign pet. You know, sometimes we do rescue chihuahuas from Mexico, etc., etc. Travel belongs to houses 9 and 3. Jupiter owns your third. So again, there's like a kind of a grinding, turning wheel that for work related, professional related, job related things, or maybe a need to travel or get a visa or get a passport arrangement going here. And this is going to be very true between now and even June 9th, you know, so watch for that as well. If you're an employer, you could hire a destined employee from a foreign country. It could be that simple. Maybe you're going to get hire someone from another country, another place, a digital place, maybe, you know, a virtual assistant. There's that kind of vibe that could happen for some of you as well. And that's what I have for you. Oh, your health. Well, because you have to take care of your health, and the North Node's expanding, voluming up attention to health. And Jupiter's in the house of guides, mentors, gurus. There may be a destined teacher, guide, guru coming your way a week before May 18th, up to 2 weeks after the end of the month. That could be like, you need this person. This is like your person. This is your coach, your therapist, your guide. This is the one that's here to, your dispeller of darkness, your teacher that helps you with your mental, emotional, and physical health. So that may be something for some of you too. Hey, Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising. Sign in, guys. If you're in the live premiere, hit that like button. And if you have never subscribed to my channel, do so. And if you think you're still subscribed, I bet you're not. YouTube's been dumping subscribers again. Please double check. Scorpio, sun, moon, rising sign. In March of 1989, April of 1989, this whole 2 months, basically, Jupiter was busy bending the nodes of fate. In this particular way, the North Node is what he's bending. You can find yourself looking at financial matters to do with shared resources, like an inheritance, like money connected to spousal resources co-shared in a bank accounts, or investments in the markets, or money from taxes and tax rebates. Jupiter is in the 8th house. That's luck and opportunity with some qualities of mitigation because he's in detriment. He's not as strong as he could be, but he's still trying to help you. Mortgages, bank loans, interest rates, credit cards, all those things to do with borrowed money, leveraged money, etc. And then Jupiter's here, and he hits the node of fate in the 5th house. Now, the 5th house is entrepreneurial, it's artistic, and it's creative. So if you're an artist or an entrepreneurial type, you may have a destined action, decision, critical turning point moment where you're realizing something like an opportunity that wants to volume up in your artistic or entrepreneurial zone of the sky that looks like maybe a nice little chunk of money wants to show up. Someone wants to buy your painting. Somebody wants to sign you up on a book publishing deal. I don't know. Something like that could happen here. It's really also a possibility of a destined pregnancy. If you think that the child that you're going to be giving birth to, whether you're the woman or helping conceive, if you're the man, if you think that that's going to be a thing, then Jupiter says, well, and it's great Grandpa Joe or somebody from another part of your family. There's like a reincarnation when Jupiter's here, and pregnancy happens in the 5th house. So if there's a pregnancy story last week or the next 2 weeks, I will tell you to look for symptoms of which relative up your line is coming back. Yes, I know it sounds crazy, but these things actually happen. Now, your North Node in the 5th house, just as a principle through to 26, is going to expand pregnancy, fertility, creativity, entrepreneurship in your life. More fun, more joy, more play, more pleasure. And it can really pay off when Jupiter enters into your lucky 9th house, but that's coming up. So as he's at this turning point, bending, critical decision-making, powerful energy, what might you need to change in your life through an action and decision that you will consider, like maybe letting go of a job, even South Node is applying to your 2nd house in order to expand your enjoyment of life, your career, your successes in life. Mars is moving through the 10th house right now, and he does like to cut, sever, and end. And some Scorpios in the last week or two before April, May the 18th, and over the next 2 weeks might end up leaving a job, quitting a job, ending a job, in order for you to expand more intensity around creativity, joy, and enjoyment, and generally having fun in life, you know? And if Jupiter gets you to make that decision in the week before this video and 2 weeks after, then it was destined. It's meant to be. You'll be okay. It'll all work out. I'd also say for you guys, romantic love, sexual love, all of that is heightened here. And because you get sort of like the sex energy comes into the 8th house sometimes, like sex magic, tantric stuff, kinky stuff, whatever, more intimate vulnerabilities around sexuality. There may be a destined turning point story around romantic love, sexual love coming your way. Would you likely meet somebody new under the transit? It's really the most important question. Well, Venus is still moving through Aries, and that's a dating house. But in June, early June, she moves into Taurus. And that could be that someone you start dating now, let's say the last 3 weeks of like, like May the 10th to the end of the month, because of the nodal bendings, will bring a fated, destined new love story your way. Okay, for single Scorpios looking for love. All right, Jupiter is your ruler, Sagittarius, as it is for Pisces, and he's now bending the North Node, just like he did back in March and April of 1989, if you were alive to remember that. And as he's doing this nodal bending in your marriage house, it is about long-term committed love. If you are not with somebody, there could be a turning point energy that activates destined intersections with a significant long-term partner for your life. And ultimately, I mean, the North Node is in the 4th house. This could be somebody that's a foreigner. Rahu, North Node can be foreigners. And there's somebody you may meet from a foreign country, foreign land, or foreign shore than the one in which you were born or raised in. So for those singletons looking for love, possibly you could meet somebody in the week before May 18th and up to the end of this month. And did you do that in 1989-90? Go back and compare. I'm sorry, March and April of 1989. Jupiter is in the house of contractual agreements, vows, legal deals. He is a god of legal matters. He is bending the North Node in the sign of your property, land, and real estate. Quite clearly, you're definitely able here to have a legal contract emerge regarding property, land, and real estate that requires an urgent or pivotal decision on your part. For squares, demand that. Jupiter rules your sign. He looks over at you and says, there's a deal over here. Are you going to take it? There's a legal agreement you need to work out. Do you want to go for it? But it should involve land, property, real estate matters. Keep that in mind. Then he'll jump into the 8th house of mortgages and an escrow in early June. So there's something going on in this story for you as well. Now, if you had been in a long-term committed love story and with somebody, and Jupiter entered here in May of last year, you may have broken up. Jupiter retrograded here for 4 months, October through to February. And for some of you, it was a tough going. Jupiter is the guy who ends relationships when they're not worthy of your consideration and continuation. And so old relationships from the past and old lovers and old significant marriage partners may have emerged, but you may also have decided it was time to end one, or your partner did. So if that was the case and the turning point, critical edge, just like, are you going to make deals around the contracts and deals around the assets, who gets a house, who gets what, sharing the spoils of the relationship? Those are things that could emerge a week before May 18th. And then, of course, the 2 weeks that follow as the nodal bending continues. Now, Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising, Jupiter is bending in the North Node in the very same way he did in March and April of 1989. And he's in a workhouse for you, literally the job, and he's the god of opportunity. Now, he's been in this job opportunity work space in Artha house ever since the end of May last year, and he leaves in June 9th. And if you didn't get any lucky job breaks since then this is his last chance saloon. So maybe about a week ago, around May 10th through to May 29th, this story is in play. He is bending the North Node in the house of short distance travel, online world, siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, people you might have been befriending as a child, like high school or elementary friends. You may get a golden job opportunity from somebody you knew when you were under the age of like 18. You may get a golden job opportunity from travel related matters or because of online storylines. Now, I say golden opportunity with a caveat. Jupiter is in detriment. So the North Node wants to bring you some destined change regarding work, but is it perfectly golden or is it kind of burnished, brass? I don't know, but it is giving you an opportunity nonetheless. Now, one thing about Jupiter in the 6th house, he's in the house of pets. And if you haven't gotten a pet because of this transit, then the North Node would say you may get a new pet in the local neighborhood. Time to visit the pet store. There may be a change of neighborhood. North Node is amplifying, intensifying your North Node of neighbors and neighborhood. And Jupiter is the word rent in a rental property opportunity. So look for the last 2 weeks of May or a week before that to open up a golden opportunity or burnished brass opportunity for a rental property as a landlord to find your perfect tenant or as a leasee to find your perfect accommodation. Debts belong to the 6th, karmic and real. If you have debt that you owe to somebody, you may be able to eliminate the debt. That's especially true if any debt or indebtedness involves marriage partners and things to do with alimony, spousal support, and all of those things. There can be eliminations of those sorts of indebtedness as well. Jupiter also may help you eliminate any kind of challenge to your health in destined fated ways through learning something, educating yourself, having some educational expansion that gives you a new perspective on a health challenge. Some of you may have noticed that your health challenges got very lit up for you. Thank you, Jupiter. You could see more clearly what needed to be done to improve those health challenges. And you probably found solutions. I have a Cap friend who had like my guy, what do you call it? Like a pigmentation growth on the corner of his eye. And finally, when Jupiter entered into his 6th house, the treatment that he had for it did work, and he got rid of it from a dermatologist. It hadn't worked before that transit. So there's just a simple example. Solutions to health challenges are found when Jupiter travels your 6th house. He's benevolent and he brings those things to you. And there may be a nice critical turning point on a particular health challenge that's going to shift for you. right, in the next couple of weeks. And what about Aquarius? I'm one of you. I have an Aquarius rising. You might be a sun or moon. We got Pluto bearing down on us, power in your sun, career, power in your moon, home base matters, power in your Aquarius ascendant, any part of your life. All right. What I would say to you is this. It's not quite comparable. Nothing is exactly the same. But if you go back to March and April of 89, Jupiter was trying to give you golden opportunities in the house of pregnancy, fertility, creativity, romance. I'm Aquarius rising. I conceived my firstborn child when Jupiter transited my fifth house. All right, back in 1988, 89. So by the time we got to the spring of 89, there's stories going on here which have to do with the idea of what you wish to expand or prosper in that fifth house. Co-creative energies, creative energies, fertility, artistic endeavors, romantic love, sexual love, all of these fun things, baby making in the fifth house. You want to do well by Jupiter, and the North Node is in the second house of earnings, money, savings. And there can be something going on here that has an energy of a pivotal destined energy, a critical crisis decision moment regarding amplification of your resources financially. Jupiter wants to expand from a house of money, luck, speculation, lottery tickets, casinos, bingo halls. North Node in the second house of earnings. Play the lottery. Know your limit. Play within it, please. This is simply entertainment purposes only. But there is a possibility that anytime between May the 10th and let's say up to June 9th, but more critically, the 29th of May or early May, end of May, you could win money. That's what it looks like. And if you don't, you could get pregnant. And if you don't, then you could get a new romantic love story that's destined or fated. Or you could have a new level of prosperity emerge from some creative, entrepreneurial, or artistic endeavor that you've been up to. So back, for me, it was very much about that fertility story back in 89. Whatever you guys are doing, I'm not fertile anymore. You could give birth to a baby book, a baby project, a baby painting, a baby art thing, but it's all got the intensity of amplification of your earnings, resources, and money. Okay. When Jupiter's in the fifth house, he's going to try to open up doors for enjoyment and joy and fun and inspiration, no matter what. He's been trying to do that since May of last year. But the nodes are adding something new. Like, you want to understand that there's destined stories here, a destined lucky break for one of your children financially. Your children belong to the fifth house. They may have a financial lucky break in their life, or a major lucky financial break in the life of a lover partner, like a romantic partner, not a marriage partner, more of like we're dating or we're in a relationship, but we're not like in a full-time commitment. That person may have a spark of financial luck in their life, and you're witnessing it happen for them. So if I go back to me in 1989, I would say that not only did I get pregnant, but my partner, that was my husband. So let's qualify a significant romantic sexual partner luck, got a big upgrade in his job, a big, boost to a new level. So whatever, it could be for you too. So if I had any advice for you, anytime between now, and it already started last week, let's go May 10th to the 29th, know your limit, play within it. And it's okay to buy a lottery ticket. You don't need 2,500 lottery tickets. You need one to win. If it's meant to be, you'll buy the winning ticket. Otherwise, destined pregnancy. And if you get pregnant off this guy, it's somebody you've known from your family of origin who passed and they want to come back. I'm not going to explain why. Just take my word for it. Finally, Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign, never last, never least, best and always best. Here we go. Thanks for your patience, waiting all this time as usual. I think if you want to try to remember March and April of 1989, you might make some comparisons to luck when it comes to property, land, real estate, family wealth, and inheritances. Did you get an inheritance back in 1989? Some of you may have actually done that. Some of you may not have done that. Just giving you the lay of the land. My younger sister's a Pisces rising, and my dad passed away in December of 19. No, that wasn't it. So that was later. So no, I can't think of it. I'm just trying to give you family examples of money luck for Pisces coming through family monies, mom, dad, family of origin, legacy wealth. But some of you may be able to cobble together a story from 1989, March and April. Now, energetically speaking, the North Node is expanding you in a once every 18-year manner, 18 and a half years. And so you are growing into a larger version of yourself in which you're ready to experience a worldly success vibe, attainment of your desires, striving to achieve what you wish to achieve in life. So Pisces sun, your career matters. Pisces moon, your home matters. Pisces ascendant, anything in your life that you wish to aspire towards, what you would call perks in the matrix, the cigar, the wine. I'm thinking of Cypher, the good steak, right? And you want to expand yourself as well into some kind of destined new big girl panties and big boy suspenders or something. This energy is also going to draw from the fourth house, Jupiter bending, maybe around May 10th to the end of May, but like we're talking about May 18th to the 29th, most particularly, some kind of prosperity, luck, opportunity from the fourth house. Now, that's just property, land, home, domicile. Simple, isn't it? But when Jupiter's down here, if you don't inherit something, then you might instead prosper significantly in a destined way from matters connected to what you do in your private home life. And while Jupiter is at home here, he rules the 10th house of career, which speaks to things you do at home that serve your career or purpose, increasing your sense of worldly success, not necessarily financial success even, because the North Node is in the house of you, but rather the sense that you are on target with the achievement of some worldly goals in life. And you're doing that in and from your home. Now, because that's been true, Jupiter's been here since May of last year, we're talking about a pivotal destined turning point in these themes in the next couple of weeks. Your mother belongs to the fourth house. So if mom is about to like lob a bunch of money at you or something from the family system, that could show up as well. I wonder a little bit here with Jupiter in the fourth house, bending the North Node, right? Twisting that North Node. He's also, of course, looking at the South Node in the house of significant long-term committed love. And the South Node, of course, is going to be in your marriage house for 18 months, well, until midsummer of 26 now at this point. That depletes your relationship. It takes energy away from it, or your partner could have a health challenge and you're focused more on you. And that's okay. But look for some critical tension between you and you and your marriage type partner. Okay. Look for tension in that relationship. The week behind us, May 10th to the 29th, and really feeling the intensity of that, maybe in a way you have to notice. You can't ignore the tension between your desires to focus on what you desire to create and want in your own life for your own sense of worldly success versus what your partner has going on for them in long-term committed love. Finally, Jupiter means children, and fourth house means more children in the family. And there's a possibility, because Jupiter's about to enter your fifth house, that you might get a critical destined turning point narrative in the next 2 weeks, that you're going to be a grandparent or a parent. And you should know that to be true or not true between now and June the 9th. All right. And if that happens, that you're going to be a parent or a grandparent, then it is fated, it is destined, and it is exactly as it should be. All righty. No hardship there. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell to help the channel grow. Come join me on Sky Reader. I'd love to have you in July into early August. There's 6 classes. It's going to be a hoot. We're starting after July 4th or in Canada, July 1st. Has to be, because I'm moving my home. I had to delay it from mid-June start. And also check out the 2025 All Science bundles, half price. You get 12 hours of video sorry, 24 hours of video content, 2 hours for each sign, plus PDF guidebooks. And now I've got this habit at the end. I'm going to start adding my ruminations, right? Because I did that in my last video. A lot of people actually watched the end. So on my timestamps, and maybe I'll start my video saying, if you want to hear Lori ruminating about shit, it's going to be after the all signs portion of the video. Any ruminations worth ruminating on today? Shattering glass. So years ago, I read the Kabbalah, and I read that God tried to descend through the Sephirah, in the tree of life, and the Sephirah couldn't contain God's light, and they shattered. And then we have tikkun, or repair, of the vessels that shattered, which is equivalent to this world. And the lowest level of the tree of life, I think it's called Malkut or Malkuth, is like the Matrix. That's 101, right? But every time I've broken a vessel, I shattered a wine glass, I dropped my, coffee mug. When I shatter glass in particular, shatter vessels, I've noticed that I seem to have a reality shift. I move into another timeline. It's really, really cool. And I was listening to this woman the other day. She's a Canadian. I can't remember the name of her channel now. She's talking about a timeline, massive timeline shift that we haven't seen since 2012. That's been happening right now. I agree. We've had a bifurcated timeline shift, like Man in the High Castle. I felt it after Donald Trump was elected. So I've got a funny story where, because I'm moving, I was selling furniture, and the moving guys about a month ago dropped the entire thing, which had glass panels on it, and shattered it all over my front porch, which later on I stepped on and cut my foot. Then I walk out to my car a week and a half ago, and someone has smashed the entire passenger side window in the front to break in to get absolutely nothing, because there's nothing to steal from my car. And another shattering of all the glass all over the car, all over the sidewalk. And then I got back to my apartment today after the guy cleaned the carpet, right? The carpet cleaning guy. And he shattered my candle. It had a glass container, and he didn't leave me a note or anything, but that's okay. I found another container for it, but he shattered the glass on my candle. So I had 3 shattering of vessels, or glass containers, containment thingies, right, in the last month. So I don't know if this is just me having my own personal massive reality shift to a different timeline, or anything, or that I'm a part of a collective shift and I know to notice it because glass is shattering. So I'll tell my sister to timeline stamp this as shattering of the vessel's reality shift conversation. Do you have anything like this happening in your life? Do you have a way you know that you've had a reality shift? I've got a great story for you. So because I read Quantum Jumping by Burt Goldman years ago, or took his class, this is like, 15 years ago, I know that I could try to jump timelines, or jump into a timeline where Lori can sing, and I don't want to ever consciously jump a timeline, because while I may acquire a good voice for singing, I might also have bad health, so I'm very wary about choosing to jump timelines. I let the universe, like the mandala effect, move me around. And then I wanted to get rid of these seasonal allergies that were driving me nuts. And I was in a float tank, and I decided I'm going to do a shamanic journey in the float tank. And I'm going sensory deprivation tank. And I'm going to jump timelines to a place where I have no seasonal allergies. And that time of year was my worst time. I think it was now. I have the same problem, May, June, tree pollens or grass pollens, and in Vancouver. And so I got out of the float tank, and I went to, on the way home, the stop at the grocery store, because it's on the way home. And I was going to parallel park. And it's in the street that I was paralleling park, I could see a van trundling way down the way behind me, but he was blocks away. And plus, the parallel parker on a single road wasn't 2 lanes, has the right of way. He has to stop and wait for me. Somehow he imagined that he could get by me, and he didn't stop. And I had already started to turn. And this driver of the van smashed my mirror. So I'm turned around like this, parallel, like looking over my shoulder to edge into my spot. And I hear shattering glass and shrieking metal. And I'm like, and I turn around, and my entire mirror on the driver's side has been sheared off, and there's glass sprayed all over the road. Yes, I actually won that, of course, but I had to prove it. I had to go to ICBC, is our Canadian stupid government run bloated, car insurance. We have, and they wanted to go no fault. And I'm like, I went and took pictures of how big the road was, took pictures of how big my car is in the parallel parking spot, how he had to drive half on the grass in a median of grass to do what he did. And yes, I did finally win. But I recognize that in order for me to make the timeline jump where I had no seasonal allergies, and by the way, that those particular allergies, whatever I was dealing with, did go away. So maybe it wasn't this time of year, because I have ragweed season and another one. So it must have been ragweed season. Anyway, it worked. It worked. But I shattered the glass, and I couldn't shatter that myself. Someone had to shatter it. And there was a big adrenaline jolt. And I think sometimes to jump a timeline consciously, we almost have to have a moment of adrenalized intensity, right? That's my thoughts. Anyone in the comments want to get back to me on that? What this means to you? If you've had timeline shifts, certainly I'm a mandala effect deep diver. I know all about the mandala effect. It has been massively influential in my understanding of reality. Thanks for listening to my end extra now, where I'm going to muse on things that are going on in my world and what I think about reality at all. All right. Thanks, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thank you. And then from now on in the intro, I'll tell people, go to the extra for any additional commentary on stuff that's right off of to the left field storylines. Ciao. Oh my God, I am recording. Yes.